That's beautiful. I love how you articulated and you mentioned like the institutional archetypes. So that might lead us into your work around the 5 future archetypes.
Yes. You want me to share a little bit about that? Yeah. Yes. When I was doing my PhD research on systems change, and there was a lot of talk at that time about, are we in an era of change or a change of eras? Yeah? Mm-hmm. And so I said, okay, if we are in a change of eras and not just in an era where everything is changing, then this new era should have new archetypes. If the era is a new cycle of time, it's a new paradigm. It's also a new cycle of consciousness. Then what are its archetypes? So what I then did is look in the younger generations, how are they responding differently to the challenges? So when the younger generations are faced with breakdown, are faced with bad news, are faced with all that's not working, do we see different response patterns? And if they are the imaginal cells, if they're acting really as these imaginal cells of this new era, how does an imaginal cell respond to a challenge differently from, for example, caterpillar consciousness? So what's the difference between an emerging butterfly consciousness when faced with its limits to growth compared to a caterpillar approach, which has been eating more, consuming more, hitting the limits of growth. Yeah? And this is when I then noticed that there were really, really vitally different responses. I saw that younger generations were getting very creative with some of the challenges, rather than feeling like they were a victim and asking all the generations to change it for them. I saw that many were saying, well, we're going to change the game. We're going to change the code. If you're not doing that, we will do it. Yeah? So it's getting really proactive. But also what I noticed that many of these younger generations understood very, very deeply that it is a structural change, that you can't solve this on the surface. Mm-hmm. And that's when I was tuning in with that more and kind of integrating all of these reflections and also working with what are the 5 steps of a metamorphic transformation, what are the 5 stages of a metamorphic transformation, and what are the 5 states of consciousness. That's when that kind of system started to, I would almost say, reveal itself. Yeah, mm-hmm. Because I feel like it's already there. It's just that I was naming it to help make it visible more for us to work with. And then, so the first one in the center, if you imagine a wheel, then the first archetype is the wholeness coder. Mm. So we start that journey for actualizing our future potential, starting from the code of wholeness, the code of unity, rather than starting a process through a code of duality. Most of the old paradigm systems, they were conceived from duality. They were activated through duality. So the way that they grow and expand was causing division and separation, not diversity that's coherent. So the first one is the wholeness coder. And so these are all the people who are like the people who shift the game, the people who are making new codes and algorithms, the people who are the architects and designers of new systems. So these are kind of in the category of the wholeness coders, who are really working with the wisdom of living systems and applying that then at that architectural level. And then the next archetype.
So the wholeness coders, they are the dot connectors, like the grand scale dot connectors.
Not yet. That are the pattern weavers.
Oh, okay.
Even more deeply fundamental. Okay. So you could imagine that if you were to see it in these 5 stages of the metamorphic transformation, then the wholeness coder is the imaginal disk in the caterpillar. Okay. Mm. Yes? Mm-hmm. So it's really it's like the fundamental code. It's like you're coming from the beginning of this new cycle of consciousness and creation. So it's like the first code, the seed of that. Mm. And wholeness coders are people who are naturally thinking in terms of algorithms, codes, parameters. An example of my 11-year-old son at that time, I would give him, when he was playing with a game, the games he liked very much is when he could change the rules of the game. Mm. So he wouldn't want to play with a game that was just made for him. He was always looking for games when he He can change the parameter settings. He can change how his avatars look in the game. He can make his own game pass and invite his little friends. And then he could create his own rules around that, how they work in that game world. So that's a wholeness coder approach to working with reality, is really looking at how are new choices. So they're always looking for choice points, saying, when you're saying it can't be done, well, let's explore if we can do it by making a new choice. So wholeness coders increase choice points in systems. They increase more choice points for activating that code of unity, of being able to bring that future consciousness in. And then the next one, the future creatives then, is when the imaginal disc in a caterpillar body is becoming an imaginal cell. And so there's a point of activation when the caterpillar is really reaching its limits to growth. It's starting to cocoon. The discs now are activating more and more, and they're becoming imaginal cells. And they will start to now coordinate what's happening with the breakdown. And so the future creators, what they do is they create possibility spaces for possibility spaces. They're the innovators. They are the futurists. They are also the ones researching and exploring the new pathways. They're right at home in the imaginal world. Yeah. So when you have that new choice point there, and that new choice point creates a possibility in a pathway that enters into us as new visions, new ideas, inspiration. Yeah. So what future creatives do is they ride that wave. So rather than thinking, oh, well, was a nice dream, they will go, I can sense it, I can feel it, they're enacting it. They're imaginally engaging that new possibility now. So it becomes stronger. It becomes a field dynamic.
And if people aren't ready to receive it, they're writing stories about it.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. So they are, it's like they're already starting to live from that new reality. And in the next one then, now the caterpillar is really cocooned inside. So it's no longer moving. It's no longer looking for its leaves. It's in its cocoon. It's breaking down. Its body is turning into a nutrient soup. And the imaginal cells are now becoming imaginal organs. They are starting to link up and to connect up. And this is when we enter the evolutionary catalysts. So evolutionary catalysts are people who are the healers, they're the facilitators, they're the educators. They know how to work with breakdown, with death, with transformation, so they can hospice what's dying. And at the same time, they're holding space for birth, they're midwives, for the emergence, for the new. So they're really at home in that transition between the old and the new. And they help transition resources, consciousness, systems from old to new states. They develop these evolutionary capacities that come out of those future potentials. You see, that we are really in the deep work of our transformational process.
This is the first time I'm hearing you explain these, and I actually have been calling myself an evolutionary catalyst for like a decade. So I love this.
There you go.
Yeah. Okay, so
great. And then comes the next one is the pattern weaver. So this is at the point in the metamorphic transformation where the butterfly body has now formed. So where before there were imaginal organs, now it's the whole body of the butterfly is formed. It's still in the cocoon, but it is formed. Yeah? And it's the cocoon is ready to open. So the pattern weavers, what they do is they weave now these new realities with the evolutionary patterns that have maybe been made possible by the wholeness coder, the future creatives, the evolutionary catalysts. So those new patternings now, with that, they're building communities, they're creating the root systems of our planetary civilizations, they're weaving these new connections, and they are really making sure that the garden is fertile to plant those seeds. So pattern weaves are really important in that way, because they help now for that emergence out of this cocooning, out of all this inner work also that we've been doing better by ourselves or as a community. They now really help for that critical stage. It can now become a reality. We can start to work with that. And it starts to connect up and link up even much more effectively. And the butterfly is born. And this is where we're now entering into the new paradigm storytellers. So these are the people now in ourselves as well. We become the new story. And so now we are in the world from that butterfly consciousness. We are fully embodying and actualizing within ourselves and in our lives and in our world around us, this future potential that we've helped to birth and bring into the world. And we come from a consciousness of abundance and fertility. So wherever we go, wherever we touch, so it's like words become power. With words we create. So as the new paradigm storyteller, as the stories or the new narratives, the unitive narratives of our future human becoming, as that lands, as it touches the hearts, it fertilizes more, it activates more of these beautiful seeds in all the people in our world around us. So that's that beautiful journey in 5 steps, states, and stages through the 5 future archetypes.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of Catalyst Talks. Stay tuned for what's up next, and please subscribe to our podcast and rate us wherever you listen. You'll find these all at catalysttalks.com. Join the conversation on social media, and if you'd like to reach out, please send me, Stephanie, a private message through stephanietrager.com. Your attention means the world to me. Thank you, thank you, thank you.